Oh, and by the way, it's day 30.
Are you sure?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 30 of Coffee and Cracks.
It's Thursday.
Today's Thursday. So we've been doing this for 30 days, not straight, but we've made it for 30 days.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool, I think.
Trying to get this pulled up here, sorry. Oh, today we're doing 8, 9, and 10.
Ooh, so maybe a long day. So, or a long Bible study. So,
Oh my. It
Well,
may be.
they don't
I'm
look very
looking at
long.
what the title is. That's pretty.
hey, just so, yesterday we got our Bible sent off to the Philippines.
Finally. We had some issues because Kevin kept trying to send it off, and he was like, I don't know what to put where because the address is so different. Because it's different than like our traditional addresses here in the States.
Yeah, it was like a huge paragraph address.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't sure how to do it. Nothing.
You even called FedEx and they couldn't help him over the phone.
Yeah,
so you
they
had to
wouldn't.
take it.
They wouldn't take it over the phone or do it over the phone. So it was just. Yeah.
Go ahead and ask how much it was to ship a Bible to the Philippines.
Okay.
Somebody asked. I'll do it for you. How much was it to ship the Bible to the Philippines?
Okay, so it was $187 to ship the Bible to the Philippines. But you know what?
Oh no, it was so worth it.
So-
I'm not complaining, but we were both like, because he called me. He's like, "Are you sitting down?"
Yeah.
What? But it's okay.
So you know what? And this is so I was standing in line. Just try to just tell this real quick. So I was standing in line at the FedEx, and I get up there, and they're like enforcing the whole 6-foot rule. Like if you don't have a mask on, they make you. They'll move back. You walk up to the counter, lay your card down, flip it up. You have to move back. They'll walk back up to the. It's just it.
Sounds like a square dance.
It was. I was really aggravated about the whole thing because this stuff's stupid. And then so my turn to get up there and she's looking at it and she's like, okay, so the cheapest way is it's gonna be $187. So I'm sitting there and I'm like processing this real quick. I'm like, holy moly.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Angela is gonna kill me when I pay this. But you know what? That's the Lord's money. That's God's money.
I didn't get mad. I was shocked, but I didn't get mad because I mean, honestly, I don't have an extra $187 in my pocket. Do you?
No.
But we did it because we said we would, and everything is just pay it forward. It all comes around. I mean,
That's right.
I was not upset. I think it's cool that she's gonna have a new Bible.
Yeah, I wasn't mad about it at all. But it was like
Shocked.
it was sticker shock.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? So, and even the people that were around me that were waiting in line, their jaws dropped. They're like, "You're sending a Bible and paying almost $200 to send a Bible?" Yeah, sure am. So, anyhow, going forward with that, again, if anybody needs a Bible,
Kevin Parham.
if anybody needs a Bible, we'll still do it, but we may need to get some help from.
If we send it out of the country.
If it goes out of the country like that again, we may have to ask and see if some people will help us out in sending it. I mean, because that's yeah.
Let's
it's
wait a few
God's
weeks
money.
before we give away another Bible.
It's God's money. I don't care. I'll spend it. He gave it to me. Spend it.
Can we wait a couple of weeks before we give away another Bible?
You get $200. You get $200. You get $200. You ship for 2. You ship for 2. Everybody gets a Bible. That's my Oprah thing.
All right.
So welcome, guys, again. Again, today's 30.
There's your dog.
Yes. No, well, they're barking.
The barking, yeah.
Well, the gate's closed. Anyhow, okay. Let's get on this real quick. We got three chapters.
You're gonna get up and let your dog in. I'm just telling you. You ready? You want to just get it over with?
Well, no, it's the other dog's barking too. Oh gosh.
I told him before he left her outside. I said, "Did you let her in?" No. She's gonna bark.
Lucy. Lucy.
You're gonna have to put Lucy and Joe up in our room.
Oh, jeez.
Or two of them. There they go. There's two. So this starts out with setting up the lamps. This may be one of those high detailed days. You know, I'm getting old. My eyes are getting old. I don't know about the, well, okay, my whole body's getting old. And that would be
Joe. I'm back.
Hi, Milkface. Ready?
All right. 47 minutes ago.
Numbers 8. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you set up the lamps, see that all 7 light up the area in front of the lampstand." Aaron did so. He set up the lamps so that they faced forward on the lampstand, just as the Lord commanded Moses. This is how the lampstand was made. It was made of hammered gold, from its base to its blossoms. The lampstand was made exactly like the pattern the Lord had shown Moses. The Lord said to Moses, "Take the Levite."
Hold on, just give us 1 second, guys.
We were just kidding. We're not
She's all looking out the windows like, you know, like those neighbors that people are blind.
looking to see what it was barking at.
Okay. Are you done gulping water, Joe? Can we continue?
Yeah, we're good. Okay.
All right. Go.
From among all the Israelites and make them ceremonially clean. To purify them, do this. Sprinkle the water of cleansing on them, then have them shave their whole bodies and wash their clothes. And so they will purify themselves. Have them take a young bull with its grain offering of the finest flour mixed with olive oil. Then you are to take a second young bull for a sin offering. Bring the Levites to the front of the tent of meeting and assemble the whole Israelite community. You are to bring the Levites before the Lord, and the Israelites are to lay their hands on them. Aaron is to present the Levites before the Lord as a wave offering from the Israelites, so that they may be ready to do the work of the Lord. Then the Levites are to lay their hands on the heads of the bulls, using one for a sin offering to the Lord and the other for a burnt offering to make atonement for the Levites. Have the Levites stand in front of Aaron and his sons, and then present them as a wave offering to the Lord. In this way, you are to set the Levites apart from the other Israelites, and the Levites will be mine. After you have purified the Levites and presented them as a wave offering, they are to come to do their work at the tent of meeting. They are the Israelites who are to be given wholly to me. I have taken them as my own in place of the firstborn, the first male offspring from every Israelite woman. Every firstborn male in Israel, whether human or animal, is mine. When I struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, I set them apart for myself, and I have taken the Levites in place of all the firstborn sons in Israel. From among all the Israelites, I have given the Levites as gifts to Aaron and his sons to do the work at the tent of meeting on behalf of the Israelites, and to make atonement for them, so that no plague will strike the Israelites when they go near the sanctuary. Moses, Aaron, and the Israelite community, did with the Levites just as the Lord commanded Moses. The Levites purified themselves and washed their clothes. Then Aaron presented them as a wave offering before the Lord and made atonement for them to purify them. After that, the Levites came to do their work at the tent of meeting under the supervision of Aaron and his sons. They did with the Levites just as the Lord commanded Moses. The Lord said to Moses, "This applies to the Levites. Men 25 years old or more shall come to take part in the work at the tent of meeting. But at the age of 50, they must retire from their regular service and work no longer. They may assist their brothers in performing their duties at the tent of meeting, but they themselves must not do the work. This then is how you are to assign the responsibilities of the Levites."
First mention of
Numbers
retirement.
9.
There's your retirement right there. That's where retirement comes from.
The age of 50. Okay. Did anything stand out to you?
Retirement. Let's see what we got for 8.
In 16, they are the Israelites who are to be given wholly to me. Holy as in WHOLLY versus holy as in HOLY.
So as a whole versus
Yeah.
God.
So holy to me mean all of them instead of holy. So that stuck out to me. What you got?
This section focuses on the Levitical priests, noting several important aspects of their preparation for service. They were to be cleansed prior to service. The sin offering made on their behalf showed that even they, Israel's spiritual leaders, needed to be cleansed of sin. Only our great high priest, Jesus Christ, serves in the priestly role without sin. Even though he is sinless, he can fully understand our weaknesses so that we need not fear approaching him in any time of need. The Levitical priests not only offered sacrifices and offerings to God, they were to consider themselves living sacrifices. Their lives were to be given completely over to God. The New Testament also teaches that we are to consider ourselves a holy priesthood, giving our lives as living sacrifices unto God. A life founded on commitment to God contains the essential ingredients of a life filled with contentment and purpose. The priest's ultimate purpose was to serve through God his responsibilities in the tabernacle. Here we see that priests were sanctified, in other words, set apart and accountable to God for active service. This accountability is an essential part of our salvation as well. We will be held accountable to God for the way we use our time, talents, and treasures as we serve him.
Okay. The Levites were symbolically offered to the Lord with thanksgiving and praise. The Israelites had every reason to thank God for the Levites, who would make possible their access to God by making atonement for them in the tabernacle. This pretty much repeats what you read. The work of the tabernacle required vigor. Here, age 25 is the starting point, whereas elsewhere it is set at 30, and later by David at 20. That's all I've got.
No.
The Lord spoke to Moses in the desert of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they came out of Egypt. He said, "Have the Israelites celebrate the Passover at the appointed time. Celebrate it at the appointed time at twilight on the 14th day of this month in accordance with all its rules and regulations. So Moses told the Israelites to celebrate the Passover, and they did so in the desert of Sinai at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. The Israelites did everything just as the Lord commanded Moses. But some of them could not celebrate the Passover on that day because they were ceremonially unclean on account of a dead body. So they came to Moses and Aaron that same day and said to Moses, "We have become unclean because of a dead body, but why should we be kept from presenting the Lord's offering with the other Israelites at the appointed time?" Moses answered them, "Wait until I find out what the Lord commands concerning you." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, when any of you or your descendants are unclean because of a dead body or are away on a journey, they are still to celebrate the Lord's Passover. But they are to do it on the 14th day of the second month at twilight. They are to eat the lamb together with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They must not leave any of it till morning or break any of its bones. When they celebrate the Passover, they must follow all the regulations. But if anyone who is ceremonially clean and not on a journey fails to celebrate the Passover, they must be cut off from their people for not presenting the Lord's offering at the appointed time. They will bear the consequences of their sin. A foreigner residing among you is also to celebrate the Lord's Passover in accordance with its rules and regulations. You must have the same regulations for both the foreigner and the native born. On the day the tabernacle, the tent of the covenant law, was set up, the cloud covered it. From evening till morning, the cloud above the tabernacle looked like fire. That is how it continued to be. The cloud covered it, and at night it looked like fire. Whenever the cloud lifted from above the tent, the Israelites set out. Wherever the cloud settled, the Israelites encamped. At the Lord's command, the Israelites set out, and at his command, they encamped. As long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle, they remained in camp. When the cloud remained over the tabernacle a long time, the Israelites obeyed the Lord's order and did not set out. Sometimes the cloud was over the tabernacle only a few days. At the Lord's command, they would encamp, and then at his command, they would set out. Sometimes the cloud stayed only from evening till morning, and when it lifted in the morning, they set out, whether by day or by night. Whenever the cloud lifted, they set out. Whether the cloud stayed over the tabernacle for 2 days, or a month, or a year, the Israelites would remain in camp and not set out. But when it lifted, they would set out. At the Lord's command, they encamped. And at the Lord's command, they set out. They obeyed the Lord's order in accordance with his command through Moses.
It tells you the faith they've got.
And
the commitment they've
yeah,
got.
That's a huge difference from the behavior at the bottom of Mount Sinai when they arrived, when Moses first went up. As far as obedience and belief, obedience to the Lord, because it was pretty much herding chickens when they ended up when they stopped at Mount Sinai.
Well, I mean, I bet there's people that are moaning and groaning through here, but you think about it. If you have how many people they got with them?
Over 600,000. From the last numbers that were counted up, over 25.
You got to think
that's just the armies.
That's 600,000. I don't even remember what the city of Longview is. 60,000, something like that, or no, I don't remember what it is. But that's multiple.
Yeah.
Big cities.
That's a
here.
huge moving of people. That's a huge
right.
undertaking to just get up and move, and then to stay together and to not bicker and.
Oh
well,
no, they're about to start bickering.
But that's a huge deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's.
I can't put together a family reunion, much less. Can't get that many people to agree on a date, and these people are all following count. Just whatever.
But you got to think about it. Back then, people weren't preoccupied with their selves like people are now.
Yeah, I agree.
There was nothing else. There was hunting and gathering.
Well, I mean, they did their visiting, drinking, and working.
Yeah, but they didn't have more important things to do, like play video games or ride bicycles, or I'm thinking like what the older generation would do. They
I
didn't,
mean, like all of the recreational things that just basically everybody does now. Going fishing, going riding at the mud parks, all that stuff.
yeah,
Things that people obey versus the Bible.
right. Because nowadays people worship their possessions.
Yeah, or even work.
Yeah, they worship work. I mean, you could say that most everybody worships their phone, and I don't mean that in a literal sense, but their phone is their most prized possession, because if there's anything that anybody holds on to for most of the day, it's their phone. Because they have it in their hand when they walk into the store, they walk around with it in the store, it's in their pocket. It's it's like
It gets a lot of attention. I agree with you.
Could you imagine if people walked around with like a Bible that size and read it? I mean, I don't, but I'm just saying, could you imagine? I mean, it would just... Yeah. All right, what was that? That was 9? 9. The Passover was to be an annual feast for all the Israelites, a celebration of their deliverance from bondage in Egypt. A problem arose, however, for those who were ceremonially unclean at the time of Passover. It says, according to the strict standards of the law, they were not allowed to join in the celebration, even though it was required of them. So Moses brought this problem to God, who graciously instituted a second date of celebration for those who couldn't participate at a regular time. It goes on to say, God also wants us to participate in a relationship with Him. We should not allow our families and sins to keep us from coming to God. He has provided a means for us to come, no matter how unclean we may be. Our Passover Lamb, Jesus Christ, has taken away all the sins of the world. It also says, as the cloud moved, so did the Israelites. They had to stay alert, watching each day for God's guidance. It was essential for the people to trust God rather than to depend upon their own plans. This object lesson of obedience should be the description of our day-to-day walk with God. To trust Him completely and not in ourselves. That's what I think.
Mine pretty much repeats what you just said. So.
Of course it does.
Numbers 10. The Lord said to Moses, make 2 trumpets of hammered silver, and use them for calling the community together and for having the camp set out. When both are sounded, the whole community is to assemble before you at the entrance to the tent of meeting. If only one is sounded, the leaders, the heads of the clans of Israel, are to assemble before you. When a trumpet blast is sounded, the tribes camping on the east are to set out. At the sounding of a second blast, the camps on the south are to set out. The blast will be the signal for setting out. To gather the assembly, blow the trumpets, but not with the signal for setting out. The sons of Aaron, the priests, are to blow the trumpets. This is to be a lasting ordinance for you and the generations to come. When you go into battle in your own land against an enemy who is oppressing you, sound a blast on the trumpets. Then you will be remembered by the Lord your God and rescued from your enemies. Also at your times of rejoicing, your appointed festivals and new moon feasts, you are to sound the trumpets over your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, and they will be a memorial for you before your God. I am the Lord your God. On the 20th day of the 2nd month of the 2nd year, the cloud lifted from above the tabernacle of the covenant law. Then the Israelites set out from the desert of Sinai and traveled from place to place until the cloud came to rest in the desert of Paran. They set out this first time at the Lord's command through Moses. The divisions of the camp of Judah went first under their standard. Nashon, son of Amminadab, was in command. Nethanel, son of Zuar, was over the division of the tribe of Issachar, and Eliab, son of Elon, was over the division of the tribe of Zebulun. Then the tabernacle was taken down, and the Gershonites and Merarites who carried it set out. The divisions of the camp of Reuben went next, under their standard. Elizur, son of Sheduar, was in command. Shelumiel, son of Zerushadai, was over the division of the tribe of Simeon. And Eliasaph, son of Duel, was over the division of the tribe of Gad. Then the Kohathites set out, carrying the holy things. The tabernacle was to be set up before they arrived. The divisions of the camp of Ephraim went next, under their standard. Elishama, son of Ammihud, was in command. Gamaliel, son of Pedazur, was over the division of the tribe of Manasseh. And Abidan, son of Gideoni, was over the division of the tribe of Benjamin. Finally, as the rear guard for all the units, the divisions of the camp of Dan set out under their standard. Ahiezer, son of Ammishaddai, was in command. Pagiel, son of Ochran, was over the division of the tribe of Asher, and Ahira, son of Enan, was over the division of the tribe of Naphtali. This was the order of march for the Israelite divisions as they set out. Now Moses said to Hobab, son of Ruel, the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, "We are setting out for the place about which the Lord said, 'I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will treat you well. For the Lord has promised good things to Israel.' He answered, 'No, I will not go. I am going back to my own land and my own people.' But Moses said, 'Please do not leave us. You know where we should camp in the wilderness, and you can be our eyes. If you come with us, we will share with you whatever good things the Lord gives us.' So they set out from the mountain of the Lord and traveled for 3 days. The ark of the covenant of the Lord went before them during those 3 days to find them a place to rest. The cloud of the Lord was over them by day when they set out from the camp. Whenever the ark set out, Moses said, 'Rise up, Lord. May your enemies be scattered. May your foes flee before you.' Whenever it came to rest, he said, 'Return, Lord, to the countless thousands of Israel.'"
Um, 10:11 through 36 says, this section begins the account of Israel's journey through the wilderness on the way to the promised land. They were entering new territory on their way to building a new life, but the immediate results were not encouraging. It says, as they set out for the promised land, they were not willing to trust God and lead and protect them. Their weak faith showed up in the impatience with God, which resulted in 40 years of wilderness wandering. It says, often building a new life involves entering uncharted territory. It takes great patience to let God guide us each step of the way. Let us learn from the mistakes of the Israelites. How true is that? It also says, even though the presence of God was with Israel, evidenced by the cloud of the Ark of the Covenant, Moses continually prayed for the well-being of his people. He was their intercessor and knew the importance of the ministry of praying. He says, praying for others is always important, for it is how we lay hold of the awesome power of God to change our lives.
Okay, 10:29 through 32. Moses insisted his brother-in-law stay and be their guide, attesting to his first-hand knowledge of the wilderness terrain. While God led the army with his presence, he also provided human leaders for Israel. Moses pledged a share of God's promised bounty to Hobab. Later, records show that Hobab's descendants lived in Canaan. So that's where they were all going. So of course he went with them because it says that he set out with them. But I wonder, it must be a little vague because it says that everyone set out in order that we've read. It says, then the Kohathites set out, carrying the holy things, and that the tabernacle would be set up prior to them getting there. So, in my mind, when I hear that they've set out, I mean, I guess when they says you set out, that there's not a distance between them. There has to be no break in the line in order for them to set out with the holy things and not have protection. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the way it reads is like, well, they just set out, you know?
Well, I don't know. I wonder if they just marched in just a big gaggle, or if they were actually, like, sure they just walked. Like, I wonder if they walked like as a formation, or if they like walked in line, or if they just kind of all spread out like in a gaggle. A gaggle. Like, I wonder.
Well, I mean, that stuck out to me because the Kohathites had the most holy things, so they had to have had protection.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They had to, because the Kohathites were Levites, were a clan in the Levites, right?
I believe so.
So, because they had to carry with the poles.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess my question is who was protecting them? Was there just an army, like the armies, the other clans were in front, and then they were them, and then they were behind? I mean, there's no way they just walked with those things without being guarded. Those are the most holy things.
Yeah.
Sorry, that just stuck out. I was like, can't just see him wandering with those objects. Okay, let's go. You get it?
Hey Bible readers, I'm Tara Lee Cobble, and I'm your host for the Bible Recap. I bet you're happy we're back in some narrative sections. We still have some bits of law sprinkled throughout the rest of Numbers,
Right.
but today marks the place where we start to round the corner into some of my favorite spots in the book. God has been dealing with the cleanliness of the people of Israel for the past few days. We started with the external purity, then he moved to the internal purity. Then yesterday felt like a bit of a deviation, but it fits into the storyline because internal purity and righteousness will result in expressing it externally. Today, in God's conversation with Moses, he gives orders to purify the Levites. He's already addressed the people in general, and here he addressed the Levites specifically. As you would imagine, their position of leadership required them to undergo an even more thorough cleansing process. God reiterates his plan for the Levites and their position as his firstborn among Israel, who is also his firstborn. So I guess they're kind of like the firstborn of the firstborn, which is maybe like winning the Super Bowl and also being named MVP or something. I don't know. The people put their hands on them, which is usually what was done to an animal before it was sacrificed. The people were symbolically offering the Levites up as something they were giving back to God. This symbol is repeated again, but in a different way when the Levites are given as a wave offering. Whatever item was waved in a wave offering always belonged to God afterward. I think of the Levites every time I see people doing the wave in a stadium. I don't know if that's what it looked like for them to be offered as a wave offering. Probably not, but that's the only thing I can picture. And that concludes today's sports references. As a reminder, we're still a little more than a year past Egyptian slavery, which means it's time to celebrate Passover for the second time ever. God gives instructions about this, requiring everyone to participate, but also requiring everyone to be clean in order to participate. A few guys were bummed because they weren't clean, and they were frustrated with God that they couldn't celebrate the anniversary of his rescue. They talked to Moses about it, Moses talked to God about it, and God says, you can celebrate it, you just have to wait a month. It's maybe like if you have the flu on your spouse's birthday. You don't get a pass at celebrating them, you just have to take a rain check. And in fact, there were big consequences, possibly death or excommunication, if you opted out of the celebration altogether, because you can imagine what that might reveal about your heart toward God. I also love that God opened up this celebration to the outsiders living among them, including the Egyptians who had fled with them. God is so welcoming and hospitable. I was once traveling through Asheville, North Carolina on the day my Jewish friend Esther had gone to visit her family there for Passover. It's a big family event, but they still invited me in and gave me a seat at the table, just like God commanded approximately 3,500 years ago. So they celebrated their second Passover in the wilderness of Sinai. Then they begin a new season in their lives as God's people, moving through the wilderness. They're on their way to Canaan, the promised land. By most estimates, it's roughly an 11-day journey from Egypt to Canaan. So why have they already been out here a year and they still aren't there yet? This is like when people say they crammed 4 years of college into 6 years, right? Except this is much worse. Have you ever heard someone say, the Israelites were lost in the wilderness? We've talked about this before, but it bears repeating, especially given today's reading. They weren't lost at all. They were following God, guided by his pillar of fire and cloud. They camped where God camped, stayed as long as God stayed, and followed God wherever he led them next. This was an act of submission and trust, and honestly, sometimes probably even desperation. To not break free and just escape to the hills when times get tough, you really have to know how absolutely dependent you are on him for everything. As they're preparing to leave, one of the things God sets up is 2 trumpeters with a series of different ringtones to communicate specific things to the people. Some ringtones were to get people's attention or to celebrate, and some were used as a cry for help to God. Then, once all this was in place, they set out. After nearly a year in the wilderness of Sinai, they pack up the brand new, recently assembled and consecrated tabernacle. And you may remember, their marching formation was intentionally designed by God. Even the order that the clans of Levites arrived was executed with efficiency in mind. The Merarite Levites with the structural stuff, and the Gershonite Levites with the coverings, then finally the Kohathite Levites with the holy vessels. God put the Kohathites in the middle of the procession, so there was as much protection as possible surrounding the vessels on each side. It appears that the one exception to this is that the ark is at the head of the whole procession as God led the way with the cloud. What was your God shot today? Where did you see something about his character or his heart? Mine was in the section where he was talking about consecrating the Levites for himself, because that section gives us a fraction of visibility into the mind of God. He says he consecrated the Levites on the day he struck down all the firstborn of Egypt. Do you know what the Levites had done to catch his attention so that he bestowed this great honor on them? And remember, this was before the golden calf moment where they slayed 3,000 idolaters within their camp, so it wasn't that. According to Exodus 32, that was the day he ordained them, but not the day he consecrated them for ordination. When God struck down the firstborn of Egypt, the only thing the Levites or any of the Israelite slaves had done, as far as we know, was doubt God and his servants Moses and Aaron. So when I ask, what did they do to deserve this? It seems like the answer is exactly nothing, or at least not anything Scripture tells us about. This was just God's plan, and he's working it out all along. He says he consecrated them. He made them holy for himself. He takes a bunch of doubters and turns them into the people who live and serve in closest proximity to himself. If you're a doubter, if you're wrestling with some of this stuff, I believe God has great plans to bless you with more of his nearness. Stay in this. Bring your doubts to his word. Let your doubts see firsthand that he's where the joy is. The Bible recap is brought...
That is it. I was looking at my map that shows that's Mount Sinai there.
Mm-hmm.
So here's Mount Sinai. So here's the first wandering. So they go up here, then back and around. I mean, there's a reason for it.
I think they followed the cloud, didn't they?
Yeah, but I mean, there's a reason that he led them where he did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In this odd path, because it's literally they come all the way back around. So, well, I guess we're getting into some travels now. It won't be long. We'll be going into Canaan. Should be some good stuff.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank y'all for joining us on day 30, and hope y'all have a wonderful Thursday. And
Tomorrow we'll do it again, hopefully.
we'll see y'all on the next one. Y'all have a good day.